I'm Dr. Michael Haley, and this is the DrHaley Show. Today we're going to talk about getting clean from the inside out and detoxifying safely. We're meeting with a cardiologist, medical doctor, a New York Times best-selling author. He graduated from medical school in Uruguay and completed postgraduate training in internal medicine at New York University and fellowship at Lenox Hill Hospital. The stress of the drastic changes gave him his own challenges that would lead him to create a program that would help countless others around the world. He got irritable bowel syndrome and depression. He essentially became his own patient. He realized the shortcomings of treating these with medicine and sought alternative solutions. After his medical training, he studied Eastern medicine in India. He's been called the father of detox. His research and experience led to findings that are the subject matter of his New York Times best-selling books, Clean, Clean Gut, and Clean Eats. I've almost finished reading Clean 7. It's excellent. I'll be completing his Clean 7 program in the next month or so to experience the benefits. I'm sure I'll go on to repeat, rinse and repeat again and again and again. Today's superstar guest is Dr. Alejandro Junger. Dr. Junger, thank you so much for being on my show.
Thank you for having me.
You know, I'm reading your book, Clean 7. I'm almost done with it. I'm getting to the part where we're getting to the diet and the different kind of diets for different people. I have to figure out what dosha I am. Am I saying that right?
You're saying that correctly, yes. You have to.
Okay, excellent. I love your book and the intro and everything that got you to the point where you are today. And I was hoping that you could share your own experience, what your life and your health was like in Uruguay, what happened when you came to the United States and why you came to the United States, and what was the big culture shock for you? Why were things so different in the United States than in Uruguay?
Well, in Uruguay, when I was born a few years ago, life was very simple. There were no supermarkets. You know, my mother used to cook meals from scratch. We used to buy foods at the farmers market, and everything was very simple. And we ate as a family all together. I went to medical school in Uruguay, and after graduating from medical school, I decided to go to the United States, to New York specifically, to do my internship, residency, and fellowship in internal medicine and then cardiology. And the pace of life was very drastically different in the United States. To begin with, I didn't have my family. I wasn't eating the foods that were prepared from scratch by my mom. I was running around like a chicken with no head, from being on call to being on call again a day later, sometimes 3 days in a row, taking care of life and death situations and eating on the go from vending machines, from the hospital cafeteria. And when I had some time, I used to go to the supermarket and buy, some kind of container that I put in a microwave, and in 5 minutes I got a meal. So I started gaining weight. I started getting sick. I started having difficulty digestion. I started having allergies, which were seasonal to begin with, but then all year round. And then I started getting depressed. And I ended up going to 3 specialists, a gastroenterologist, an allergist, and a psychiatrist. And I was diagnosed with 3 diseases: irritable bowel syndrome, severe allergies, and severe depression. And I was given 7 prescription medications.
Yeah.
And what shocked me into trying to find a different solution for my problems, one that did not include prescription medications, because I knew by then that these chemicals were not going to correct the dysfunctions that were causing my problems. They were just going to mask or kill the symptoms, as it were, leaving the problem brewing behind and maybe later on expressing in a different way.
I wonder if that's partly because the difference between where you were raised and then coming to the United States, where I don't know if a lot of us would have came to that same conclusion. I've been bombarded with TV programming, commercials, drug commercials. I did some math one day and I figured that it was, probably, for every decade that we've been alive, watching the average amount of TV, probably about 2,500, commercials in a year, or 25,000 per decade. Well, for someone that's been watching TV for 50 years or however long, possibly over 100,000 of those little brainwashing segments to where we think that health comes in a bottle.
Well,
were you exposed to that in Uruguay?
Not really, but it doesn't really matter because you're not a doctor. So when I see those commercials, I mostly understand what the chemistry behind them are, and I understand that they are not really correcting anything, just masking the symptoms.
Okay. Now there is a time for medicine, right? How would we know the difference of when medicine is important and when it's not?
Well, depending on what you call medicine, I call medicine everything. I mean, maybe you're referring to modern allopathic medicine, that the one that we're accustomed to in the modern hospitals these days, right? So, and it's a great question because understanding the place of modern medicine is really important. See, human beings are affected with all kinds of diseases. For the diseases that are the acute diseases, the problems that are acute problems, modern medicine is the best thing in the world. If I break a bone, I'm not going to go meditate or drink some herbal tea. I'm going to go to the best orthopedic surgeon and have him put some screws and plates and reconstruct my bones. If I'm having a heart attack, I'm going to go to the best hospital with the best cardiology center, and that they can put a catheter down my groin up to my coronary arteries and blow up the artery with a balloon and put a stent there so that the blood can be restored, the blood flow can be restored. And those are the acute problems of humanity. But the chronic problems are problems that are not best solved with the modern tools of modern medicine. So, and the thing is that human beings, 90% of the problems that they are suffering from are chronic problems, and doctors are trying to address them and treat them with modern tools. So that doesn't make sense, right? So acute problems, modern medicine, best thing in the world. Chronic problems, not so much.
Yeah. So when you were given the 7 prescriptions and you realized there must be a better way, you did you kind of became your own patient at that point, I guess, and you started doing your own research. And it eventually led you to what I read about 3 pillars. What are those and how do they integrate together?
Well, you're talking about my latest book, Clean 7. And in Clean 7, I described the 3 pillars of the program as functional medicine, Ayurvedic medicine, and intermittent fasting. But that's not really the 3 pillars of health. Right? These are the 3 pillars of the program that I describe in that book, right?
Okay, that makes sense. And how do they integrate together, and why is it important to look at all 3?
Well, I mean, it's a bit more complex than that, right? This program, the Clean 7 program, which is the one that you're referring to, is a detox program that I created after I created my first program, which was a 21-day program.
Okay.
My 21-day program is a detox program. Basically, what it does is creates the conditions for the body's detoxification system to work at maximum capacity or at optimal levels, right? Now, what I realized that even though people were having amazing results when they did the 21-day program, many more people than the ones that were doing the program were not ready to embark on a 21-day program. So for many years, I tried to shorten that time. And that's when I introduced the 21-day program is based on principles of functional medicine. And to accelerate the results, that's when I introduced principles of Ayurvedic medicine and intermittent fasting.
Okay, I see it. And as I read about it too, I've heard of intermittent fasting, and I guess maybe I do that in my own life just because it happens. You have a busy, long day and realize you haven't really eaten yet today. And so, I might go 24-hour periods, but I never realized the real benefit. I never had the understanding of the importance of it and how it related to detoxifying.
So,
go ahead.
No, go ahead. What's the question?
Well, in your book, I love this. You and in Clean 7, you were very, I'll say, vulnerable and transparent about how it affects the mind, how the chemistry, the toxicity in our bodies would affect the mind. And, it was introduced earlier on in the book where you talked about sleep, for instance, and dreams. And, I have realized in my own life growing up that if I ate certain foods, I would have very aggressive, angry, survival fighting dreams, bloody, disgusting dreams. And it was related to the chemistry that was in the foods that I was eating. So I understood and certainly connected with you on that. And then you went on to talk about the mental wars in the brain that people would have. And I thought, that's funny because I can relate to that. I've done that, and not so much anymore. I don't know how. I think I have some ideas how in my own life I got away from that. And part of it was probably chemistry, and part of it was probably training my brain to do different things. But how does all of that tie in? And how did what were the mental wars like? And how did you get out of those patterns?
So it's a big question that you're asking, but I'll try to tackle it in some way. When I was diagnosed with severe depression, one of the things that I noticed was that there were always thoughts in my head. I was always experiencing thinking. Now, I'm not saying that I was thinking, because if I had a choice at that time, I wouldn't have been thinking 90% of the thoughts that were appearing in my head. So I questioned, wait a minute, if I am not choosing these thoughts that were, constant, repetitive, and mostly negative, if I'm not choosing them, well, then who is? And with that question, I started trying to understand where thoughts come from, who chooses the thoughts that appear in your head, how do they appear, and by exploring Eastern philosophies and Eastern religions, was that I was made aware that this is something that 99.9% of the population of the world is experiencing, the constant thinking. Now, the lucky ones have constant positive thinking, and the unlucky ones have constant negative thinking, or a mixture of both, right? But the fact is that we are almost all the time just being taken by our thoughts, and they are automatic and they're repetitive and many times negative, right? And when they're negative, they play with your emotions as well, because when you're thinking about something that's negative, then you either worry or you get angry or whatever else is a reaction that you're having, as if what you're thinking is true. For example, if you're starting to think about a fight with your boss, you're going to get angry as if the fight was actually occurring, even though it's just imaginary, it's just in your head. Mm-hmm. But once I realized that the thinking process is automatic, then I started to wonder if there is a way to slow them down and even maybe stop them and just only think when I decided to think. That's when I came across the concept of meditation as the practice through which you can slow down the constant automatic thinking process and maybe even stop it. That's when I started to be interested in learning how to meditate. And eventually I ended up living in a monastery in India, where I went to try to learn how to meditate and slow or stop my automatic thinking process, right? That was my journey into discovering this, or becoming aware of this, and trying to somehow resolve that big problem that I was experiencing. And now, as time went by and I learned how to meditate, and I've been practicing for many, many years, I realized that even though maybe I haven't slowed down that much my thinking process, or stopped it, except for certain moments, I don't identify with them so much. I just watch them, just like you watch the clouds going up, by in the sky. Before I used to get into the thought, and then, now I just watch them, and I kind of, wave at them, and observe them as if I was detached from them, and they don't affect me as much anymore.
Yeah, and I think you would agree, because you mentioned it a little bit, that the difference between those two choices is really, sympathetic or parasympathetic. Is your body in a fight or flight mode, or is it okay to just acknowledge things but let digestion and things continue in your body? Does that make sense?
Not really,
Okay.
if I'm being honest, because you talk
Oh,
about
please
choice,
do.
talking about choices, but the truth is that most people have no choice. There is no this concept of choice is an overused, very American concept. You choose this, you choose. And we basically have no choice. These are things that are just happening on themselves, right? So the work of really detaching oneself from the thought, from the thinking process, is an arduous, continuous work, right? Now, you also talk about the association between sympathetic and parasympathetic, and I think that it's kind of the other way around. I think that thought is first, and then sympathetic or parasympathetic is activated, depending on what it is that you're thinking. In most cases, it can go the other way too. Your sympathetic system may get activated, and that will maybe attract different thoughts, but in general, I think that thought is first, and then sympathetic or parasympathetic as a result, as a consequence.
Okay, and I think the reason it is
But hey, this is just my understanding. I'm no expert on this. I'm just a student.
well, we're all students, but I do think you are an expert. And you have been referred to as the father of detox.
Yeah, but that's a whole different set of things that I really do understand, which is how the detoxification system in the body works, and how to create the conditions for that system to work optimally, which
Right.
for most of us it isn't.
Yeah, and it is tremendously important, because even if we are eating the cleanest diets, and we're all being bombarded by chemicals that are getting inside us, and some of us are holding on to those and storing them more than others. Whether it's well, I happen to be in a room with carpet beneath me that probably has chemicals that are off gassing. There's things in the air. Living on this planet is, they used to allow smoking on airplanes.
But forget about the carpet. There's something much more intimate and much more pervasive than that, which is all the chemicals that we put in the food-like products that we consume.
Right.
Human beings these days, at least in modern cities, they get their whatever they eat, they get it from supermarkets. And if you take a look at a supermarket, 90% of what is sold and consumed in supermarkets comes in some kind of container: a box, a can, a jar, a tube, a bag. And in order to be in these containers, and in order to have a shelf life, they have to have chemicals, preservatives, conservatives. And then in order to sell you more, They have to have chemicals that make you attracted to them. So they have coloring agents and smelling agents and texturizing agents and all these chemicals. They keep going into your system all the time. And those are the chemicals that are mostly the ones that affect us.
We get those in us from our diets. How do we get them out?
So incredibly, the body has an ability to get them out, to detoxify them, to neutralize them, to change their chemical structure. The way that the body does that is it's in many ways, but the two main ways in which the body does that is when these toxins come into your system through your digestive system mostly. The first thing they encounter is your intestinal flora. In the intestinal flora, the good bacteria, the good fungus in your intestines, they do 30 to 40% of the detoxification work of these chemicals. Once they are absorbed into your bloodstream, then the rest of the work is done by the liver. The liver has the power the ability to manufacture enzymes that will break these chemicals and that will extract parts of these chemicals, part of the molecules, and add a different molecule so that it renders these chemicals non-toxic and converts them from fat soluble into water soluble. Most of these chemicals that we're exposed to are only fat soluble. So they have to be converted into water soluble so that the body is able to expel them, to eliminate them, right? We mostly eliminate things through water, sweat, breath. The breath has moist,
Sure.
Your urine and your feces. So they have to be converted from fat soluble into water soluble. This is done by the liver mostly once these chemicals are absorbed. Now it's amazing that our livers that were created by nature thousands or maybe millions of years ago, they are able to deal with the chemicals that we invented yesterday in many cases, or last week.
Yeah.
It's just miraculous. The problem is that the liver needs certain nutrients as building blocks to manufacture these enzymes. And if you're not consuming or absorbing these nutrients, then the enzymes will not be manufactured and the liver will not be able to do its work. And this is what's happening to a lot of people. We are not eating the right nutrients. We're not absorbing the right nutrients. And furthermore, there is an energetic problem because the body needs energy to do all these things. And for example, we think of food as where we get our energy from. But in order to get these nutrients into the body, you have to digest them. And digestion consumes energy. And the problem is that we are digesting all day long because we're eating all day long. And that requires an energetic consumption that takes away energy from other systems, the detoxification system being one of them. So because we're eating all day long and because we're eating crap and not absorbing the right nutrients, and then the liver is not able to have the energy available or the nutrients available to produce the enzymes, we end up with a toxic overload. We end up with a backup of toxins. Now, these toxins continue in the circulation. And as I said, 90% of them are fat soluble. So they're going to go and lodge in your fatty tissues. Where are the fatty tissues? In the brain, in the thyroid, in your mammary glands, in your testicles, in your kidneys, in your liver. And where are all the cancers we're seeing these days? In those organs, right?
Yeah.
Now, once these fat soluble toxins saturate your tissues, then the body will turn its metabolism into a mode of retaining and generating fat in order to defend itself against these chemicals. And that leads to the conditions for obesity, which is a huge problem in the world today. Nobody talks about this. Everybody thinks of obesity as okay, you're eating too much and exercising too little. But obesity is not only that, it's also a very intelligent way in which the body is defending itself against these fat soluble toxins. So, it's a big subject, and we're paying the consequences for the way that we're living and the way that we're eating.
That's interesting, because I've never really thought about it that way. The fact that somebody might be gaining weight because their body's actually saying, eat more to gain more fat to protect from the toxic overload that's already in you. That is,
and it's
wow.
it's not even eat more, because whatever you eat can be burned or can be turned into fat. So you may be eating the same, but if your metabolism is on a fat retaining and fat generating mode,
yeah,
you're gonna gain fat, and you're gonna gain weight, and you're gonna become obese.
Okay, so we start a detoxification program with that includes intermittent fasting, and because of that, that's when our body goes into the fat burning mode. Is that why detoxification is accelerated at that time, or are there other reasons?
Well, you're mixing things.
Okay. Yeah, get me straight. I'm going to do this program. I want to do it right.
Yeah, well, the intermittent fasting is one thing. Detoxification is a different thing. I mean, yeah, of course, they intermittent fasting accelerates detoxification, but intermittent fasting is not necessary for detoxification. Your body is detoxifying all the time. You're breathing out, you're getting CO2 out, so that's detoxification. Your body cannot even stop for a minute detoxifying, because otherwise you will die. So the detoxification process is always trying or always going on. Now, it can be more effective or less effective, right? Now, how do you make it more effective? That is when reducing the workload of the digestive system comes in handy. Because the less energy you consume digesting, the more that it would be allocated to other functions, detoxification being one of them. Now, that is the energetic aspect of it. Then making sure that you have the right nutrients for the liver to produce the enzymes is a different aspect of it. So there's many different aspects of detoxification that are not just reducing the workload of the digestive system. And intermittent fasting is just one way of reducing the workload of the digestive system.
All right, and thank you for your patience. It's coming together. It is, little as I'm understanding. Okay, the pillars, we've got, intermittent fasting, but we have Ayurvedic medicine, herbs, and things. And so it's coming together. I'm probably still going to mess things up, but I haven't finished the book yet. I have to.
We're all learning.
Yes. Thank you. In this detoxification program, is it symptomatic for most people, or how does it work? How do people typically experience detoxification? Or what might someone expect to experience?
So when you start a detoxification program, the first few days are a little difficult, because usually a detoxification program involves some drastic change in your habits, right? So, for example, coffee is not allowed during a detoxification program, and people that drink coffee may go into withdrawals and have headaches and feel low energy. So the first few days are a little hard, but then later on, it just becomes a beautiful thing. You sleep better, you poop better, you're not aware of your digestion. A lot of people are aware of their digestion because it's gurgling, or it's the gases, they're bloating. That all disappears. Your skin becomes more softer and starts glowing. The white around your eyes becomes more white. I mean, the effects or the things that people feel when their detoxification system is working optimally involve every organ, every part of your body. And I have people that stop having aches and pains, or diabetics, type 2 diabetics that stop needing insulin or stop needing medications for diabetes. I mean, it is quite remarkable what happens. The detoxification system is one of the systems that most human beings have somewhat screwed up. But when you correct that and create the conditions for that to work optimally, it affects every system of your body.
Okay. As we're talking about supporting detoxification with herbs, supplements, and we're going to get to, we're going to definitely below this video and on the blog page, I'm going to have links to your website, as I will be visiting myself when I know which products I'm supposed to get. I haven't figured out my type yet, and I haven't been to the site to figure out how that all connects together. But how would we know what makes a supplement good or not good? We talked a little bit about foods and the differences between food in Uruguay that you were brought up on, where your mother would actually spend lots of hours preparing real food, versus what it's like here, where you can go in the shelves and get something and stick it in the microwave, and 30 seconds later have what appears to be a meal. When it comes to supplements, what are some of the things we might recognize as good versus bad?
Well, to begin with, I wanna clarify that you don't need supplements for a detoxification program. The reason I do use supplements is because they help and they accelerate things, right? So but they're not needed. They're not absolutely necessary, right? Yeah. Now, with supplements, as with everything, there's good ones and there's bad ones. And it's good to know or to learn how to distinguish between them. There's organic, for example, when you're talking about herbs, there's organic herbs versus non-organic herbs. There's biodynamic farming versus non-biodynamic farming. Certain supplements contain certain pollutant chemicals like heavy metals or things like that. So it's always good to get your supplements from reputable and serious companies, right? That do their work and vet their raw materials for contaminants and things like that, right?
Yeah.
Now, when you're talking about supplements, it's a very individual thing, and there's ways of determining which supplements you need and which supplements or which supplements will benefit you the most, and which supplements maybe not so much. Mm-hmm. Now, you can do that. There's a whole spectrum of accuracy to do that. There's ways that are very, very accurate. If you do certain blood tests and urine tests and certain laboratory tests, you can really pin down what supplements you would benefit you, right? But there's always more educated guesswork on supplements. Now, most people in the world benefit from magnesium because our foods and our soils are depleted of magnesium. And even if you're eating the best organic foods, they're usually depleted of magnesium, right? So I give magnesium to people without even doing any test, because there's a more likelihood than not that it will help them. Same thing with vitamin D. We're all sun deprived, so sun is the source of vitamin D. So for most people, supplementing with vitamin D is going to be beneficial. Same thing with the B vitamins. They're very difficult to absorb. They depend on a good intestinal flora to be pre-digested and be bioavailable for absorption. So a lot of people are lacking B vitamins. So I give them to my patients, right? And then there's supplements that will most likely help. And those are the supplements that I use in the Clean 7 program, which is the book that you're reading now. And those are the Ayurvedic adaptogens. Mm-hmm. These are plants that have the ability to help your body adapt. Mm-hmm. And whereas certain supplements have a definite effect. For example, there are certain supplements that will lower your blood pressure. There are certain supplements that will increase your blood pressure. These adaptogenic herbs will help your body adapt, meaning if your blood pressure is low, they will help them. It will help your body elevate it, and if your blood pressure is high, it will help your body bring it down. So it's like it's a very intelligent supplement, right? These are the Ayurvedic adaptogenic herbs, like ashwagandha, tulsi, turmeric, and things like that.
Oh, that's beautiful. And that was a good explanation of adaptogenic. So I like that. What would you say your favorite, it's probably your own, but other than your own, your favorite testimonial to, you know, someone that has been through the, one of the detox, whether it was the 21-day or the 7-day program?
You know, I have so many that I wouldn't be able to choose a favorite one, but I can tell you, you know, that some people have completely changed their lives. I can tell you about this patient in New York. Her name is Anna, who had an autoimmune disease that completely destroyed her skin and was almost unrecognizable. And through my programs, started calming down her autoimmunity and was able to restore her health, and her skin started to look healthy again, or healthier, right? That completely changed her life. I mean, I have so many that it's hard for me to choose the favorite one.
I can see that as you light up with excitement, and that's neat.
They involve so many aspects of people's lives, you know?
Right. Yeah, that's a beautiful thing. So, you know, I've also heard you say that, you know, a little stress can be good for you. What will your day look like today? How will you balance stress and relaxation and diet? And what will you do today? And how will you enjoy your day?
You know, when you go for a run, you're stressing your body, but everybody knows the benefits of exercise, right? So yes, there are things that you introduce into your life that force your body to adapt, that have a very beneficial effect. And you could call that stress. Like, for example, deliberate cold exposure. You know, look, right here in my backyard. Let me see if I have good reception. I have a river right here, right?
Yes.
And so I wake up in the morning with my kids, and we jump in the river, and it's really freezing.
No way.
So now you can say that is stressing the body in some way, right? But we all know now that deliberate cold exposure is really beneficial for the body, because it does a lot of things to your metabolism, and it turns yellow fat into brown fat, which is healthy fat. Yellow fat is the unhealthy fat, and it changes you metabolically, makes you more resilient. It strengthens your immune system, right? So there are stresses that are really beneficial for the body.
That's cool. You know, I heard you talking about the, you know, the contrast treatments with the, you know, cold water to hot water, and how you can even do that in your own shower just by adjusting the temperature to get the vessels to, you know, contract, and part of the detoxification. I was hoping that, you know, you mentioned going in the water. If I was able to pick up my computer, I would say, hey, let me show you what we have here. And we'd get in the freezer. We got the big walk-in freezer that's set at -20. It's cold air. It's blowing. It might do it a little. It's not the same as jumping in cold water.
Let me tell you something. People are paying to get into freezers like that. It's called cryotherapy, and these shops are popping everywhere. And
Yeah.
they cost anywhere from $20 to $60 for you to get in for a while, you know. So use it and take advantage of it.
We are in and out of it all day long, grabbing things to pack and ship. So, but anyway, it's fun. Where is I'm going to have all of your links that are important to you. I have already found your YouTube channel and your Instagram channel, and you have a website and a place where people can go get books and the programs. What would you say the best stop, the number one source that people should go to find out more about you and maybe purchase your books or find some of your content?
Well, with my Instagram account, Dr. Alejandro Junger, Dr. Alejandro Junger, that's a good way to start familiarizing yourself and learning a little bit about my work. And the other one is www.cleanprogram.com, which is my company where we sell our kits and books, and we have the best customer support ever. Whenever you enter one of the programs, we support you all the way. We have free consultations and guidance. Those are the two main places, right? And
Excellent.
Of course, my books.
All right, so I'll list those first right below this video on YouTube, or if you're on the blog page, I'll have the links at the bottom of the page in the resources area. Dr. Junger, I want to thank you so much for turning your stresses in life, your challenges, your health challenges into something that benefits so many people all around the world. When I'm done with Clean 7, I'm going to get Clean Gut, because
more important than reading the book is doing the program.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Right, because it's really remarkable what it can do for you.
Oh, I'm fully convinced. I just started reading the book a couple days ago, and I'm right now getting to the food part in the end, where it's figure out what your dosha is, and which I think is similar to like body type and what foods are appropriate for you. I don't know. I haven't got there yet.
Well, I don't know what you refer to as body type, but the dosha is in a way body type or body constitution, but according to Ayurvedic principles, in Ayurveda, the world is made of the 5 elements, which is not from the periodic table, right? But it's the fire, water, earth, wind, and ether, right? And depending on the influence of these energies on you is what your body constitution is going to be. So it's like, for example, if the fire influence is more, then you're going to have a pitta constitution, a fiery constitution, and that has certain body characteristics, but also has tendencies of how your body reacts, not only to foods, but to situations and to life in itself. So by answering the questionnaire in the book, you'll find out what your dosha is. But more importantly than finding what your dosha is finding what your current dosha imbalance is, which is a little bit different, and it's explained in the book, right?
Yes.
And the difference is when you answer the questionnaire, if you think of your whole life, then you're going to determine your constitution, the constitution you were born with. But if you answer it thinking of only the last month or two, then you're going to find out your current dosha imbalance. That's the important one for the program.
That's where I am right now, is at that questionnaire. So I got some work to do. Gonna figure some things out and get on the program. So awesome. Dr. Junger, thank you so much. I'm truly blessed to have you, and everyone who's watching this and listening on the podcast, I know will be as well. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.